We have our week 4 HOH. Terrible news. Terrible news. It's Haley. No power shift again this week. This is turning into such a shitty season so far. Honestly, we're a month in now. I don't know how long I'm going to stay up to watch and see if she talks about any of her plans. Last I knew, if she won HOH, it was going to be Lala, Taylor, and then probably some, like a Melody or something like that, like one of the other girls. Whatever. This week is going to be so annoying. Okay, before plans change, because I do think that the plans are going to change this week, let's talk about where things currently are planned to take place this week in the BB28 house. If you didn't see my update last night, our new head of household for this week is Haley /Thog. She currently has a plan to nominate Taylor, Melody, and Drew, with Taylor being her target. The reason I think plans are going to change is because even though he didn't say it in the moment, when she told this plan to Devins last night, he definitely seemed to have some hesitations. And I would agree with him, because I think the problem that he sees is the same that I see, that if you're going to put Drew on the block, he better be the target. There is no sense in causing unnecessary ruffles in your alliance if you're not actually going to send the person out the door. What sense does that make? Do you think that either her nominations will change or her target will change? Obviously, I'm really hoping that Drew ends up getting the votes. I really don't care if he gets the power, because he's still not awake enough to know that he needs to do something with said power. So it's enough for him to get a punishment for me. For some people on the icon side of things to see that Dee did not get the power and the person that they want out the most did. Dee even did a camera talk last night, her and Devins, talking, like begging for people to vote for her for the power because they need it. No, they fucking don't. And also said that they wish that they knew who we wanted to target, because they would definitely get them out. Also, no, you wouldn't. You would not, because it's your closest ally. So please be for real. Haley is just on this victimization tour. She thinks she's going to get the power today because of the Tea Party episode that we just watched on Wednesday. In case you missed it, she was a victim in that whole situation. Don't know how, where, or why, but according to her, she is. She's also really mad that anyone in this house has had the audacity to call her a bitch, even though she has called every woman in this house a bitch multiple times. Lyric went up to her last night and talked to her, had her one-on-one, threw Taylor and Lala under the bus. Lyric is fully on board to switch sides at this point, does not want to be attached to the other side of the house any longer. So she was definitely throwing people under the bus. I know Taylor and Lala also plan to try and throw Melody under the bus even more today. They want the target to be on Melody and Drew. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it just depends on who pisses Haley off the most on who's going to end up going on the block, to be honest. But I do think that Dee and Devins will probably end up changing her mind in some form or fashion. Like I said, either with the nominations or with who she wants to target this week. I'm afraid to say it, but I think I have some hope for this week to potentially turn around. Let's get into it. So feeds just went down for what is presumably the nomination ceremony. As a reminder, our head of household this week is unfortunately Haley. Haley is planning to nominate Taylor, Melody, and Drew. Like I said this morning, Haley's initial target for the week was Taylor, but like I predicted this morning, Devins has changed that target over to Drew. It doesn't make sense for you to blow up an alliance and not expect for the person that you're blowing up to then walk out the door. It is pointless to do that. And that's pretty much the pitch that Devins gave her and said, if you're gonna take this shot, then actually take the shot. Don't make it be a warning shot. Something that's really interesting is Haley talks all the time about how she's super tough and she's a straight shooter and she doesn't care about what people think about her gameplay and she's not going to make small moves and blah, 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 chirp, 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 chirp. But she didn't want to just straight up tell Drew that he was going to be nominated. She wanted to have a big group meeting of the whole Toolshed Alliance and just kind of like everyone pitch in this idea. But Kamu didn't want to be a part of it because Kamu and Drew are real close and Kamu doesn't want to ruin that relationship yet. So Kamu was like, no, I don't know about that. You have the meeting with everyone else, but I'm going to take a backseat. I'm going to pretend like I don't know anything that's going on this week. This has caused some tension between him and Haley, because Haley is like, I don't want to be the only one that has all this blood on my hands, blah, 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 blah. Kamu's also pushing very, very hard for Drew to be evicted in order for Lyric to take his spot in the tool shed. And this is where the icons kind of run into sticky situations. This is the same kind of thing that happened with like Drew and Barrett and the Red Corner people, is because they just tell people what they want to hear every single time. So when Kamu talks to them about it, they're like, oh, whatever, whatever. But when they talk to Haley about it, they're like, oh no, this is not a good idea. And then Haley and Kamu are having all this tension because they both think that they have the agreeance of all the rest of the alliance on their side for their agenda that they're trying to push, when in reality, everyone's just telling them what they want to hear, but they're getting mad at each other about it. So there's a little bit of some cracks starting to form between the two of them. Throughout all the mess and craziness that's happened today, all the conversations about Drew and Barrett have figured out that like the Red Corner folks definitely aren't messing with them. They're starting to kind of figure out that maybe the icons are playing them and the trio of Haley, Chuck, and Kamu against each other within the Toolshed Alliance, but they're not fully bought in on that idea quite yet, but they are starting to wake up just a little tiny bit, because Dee did pull Barrett aside and let him know. They kind of had like a conversation between the mirrors with each other, so that she could let him know that like the nominee is Drew, not you. But Drew was kind of picking up on that on his own. And because of that, they've really, really pulled over to the icons and been talking to them a lot. And now all of a sudden, Angela loves Drew again. Let me say that again. Angela said she no longer has any reservations about Drew now that he's going to be their target for the week. Today is the day where power punishments are revealed. No punishments came out of the diary room. When we last checked the polls, the top 3 people were Jason, Drew, and Dee. Those polls are typically pretty accurate, but they're not 100%. And Drew and Dee were really, really close. We saw Drew go into the diary room. He was in there for a very long time. When he came out of the diary room, he was dropping a lot of, all of a sudden, comments about coin flips and powers and different things like that. It just seemed like a Drew kind of thing to say if he had gotten the Coin of Destiny power. But we have no confirmation of that. We never actually saw him come out. Like last week when Devon's got the power, the feed cameras like really followed him around. We saw him as soon as he came out of the diary room. The only thing we got this time was Drew's feet going into the diary room. That's the only clue that we have right now. Dee never told Devon that she had the power, but we also, at least from what I have seen, never saw her tell him she doesn't have the power. We haven't seen the two of them alone yet. But last night on the feed, they had talked about a code word that she would use, even if they were in a group setting, to indicate that she at least had the power, just so they would know with each other that she had the power. And I haven't heard that phrase used. She seems to have been in a really bad mood, like really kind of like down all throughout the morning after going into the diary room. And right before feeds cut, she was talking to Angela and she was like, I just don't understand why I didn't get it. Like, which kind of almost tips off Angela that Devon's probably has the power, because why are you questioning it so much if Devon's didn't get it last week? But whatever. But she was really like in her head, it seemed like to me, it seemed like she was really in her head about the fact that she did not get that third power, because she knows that Angela got the first and Devon's got the second, so presumably she should be third, but it seems to really be bothering her that she wasn't. If she has a power, she deserves an Oscar for the show that she just put on. One thing that's really interesting though is right before feeds went down, Dee got called to the diary room upstairs. Haley was already in the downstairs diary room getting ready for nominations, so I don't know if that means anything. We didn't see Dee come back out before feeds cut off. So there is some speculation that maybe she actually did get the votes and she has a punishment, and they're going to reveal the punishment during the nomination ceremony. If feeds come back and it is Drew, Taylor, and Melody on the block, and Dee is not in a punishment costume, we still have hope that Drew has the Coin of Destiny, because when it was used in season 23, nominations happened first and then the power was later activated. So we'll see what things look like when feeds come back, and we'll see if feeds go down again later. Even if Drew activates the power, it is not a guarantee that he gets the coin flip to go in his favor. Also, very important to make note of, in 23 when this power was used, the head of household was immune from being nominated, so Drew would not be able to nominate Haley. That's what we know for now. I have some hope. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.